The loudest, the biggest, the brashest. New York is its own character in every play.
The bad thing about New York is the pressure. You're always under pressure.
Here are the stories about those plays. It's New York Accent with Damon Amendolara.
Welcome back to New York Accent, everybody. A brand new episode of the stars, the coaches, the celebrities that made New York sports what they are. Now, our next guest has played in more games than any other New York Mets player ever. In fact, he's third all-time in hits for the franchise. He began his career with the expansion 1962 Mets and ended it all the way in the late 70s. He was part of the 1969 Miracle Mets as well and has a brand new book out called The Last Miracle, My 18-Year Journey with the Amazin New York Mets. Joining us here on New York Accent is Ed Kranepool. Ed, how you doing?
I'm doing great in New York. I came up to visit. I left Florida. It was very hot and humid, so I wanted to come to see the Mets, and I'm seeing a lot right now.
You know, you grew up in the New York City area. You grew up in the Bronx. You went to James Monroe High School as well. And so what is your youth like in the 40s and 50s in the Bronx at that time?
Well, there's a lot of sports. We were playing always in the playgrounds and keeping ourselves busy. This way you stay off the streets. But New York had a lot of action, a lot of teams. You had the three New York teams in baseball. So you had plenty of action here. And of course, when the Dodgers and Giants left, it left a void, and the Mets came around and I think solved that whole thing.
What was your team when you're growing up in the Bronx and there's the Yankees, Giants, and Dodgers?
You don't have much of a choice when you're brought up in the Bronx. You know, you got to be a Yankee fan, and I was. And I watched the Yankees until I signed in '62, and I signed with the Mets for an opportunity to get to the major leagues. It took me about 2 days to join Sandy Koufax out in California. He pitched a no-hitter and struck out 13. So that was a tough way to start, and it lasted for 18 years, and I thought it was pretty good after a while.
Yeah, that's got to be kind of daunting when you finally make the bigs, then you're facing Sandy Koufax. You got to be like, I'll never get a hit in Major League Baseball.
Well, I told Casey it was a little tough the first night, so, you know, he didn't put me in there that day, and I was glad because he saved me an 0 for 1. I think Gene Woodling pinch hit and struck out on 3 pitches, so I said, you know, before I go back to college, let me just watch a few games.
So you're growing up in the Bronx in New York City when there is no Mets. The Mets start in 1962. You're just a teenager. So when you are acquired by the franchise, there's no history, there's no team name, there's no stadium, there's no nothing. What are you feeling like when you're part of a Mets franchise that doesn't really even exist yet?
Well, they followed me for a couple of years in high school, and I knew they were thinking about signing me, and they came to the house right after graduation, and they weren't going to leave. So I had to think about it and didn't think too long. I signed a large contract and played in the major leagues that year. So to me, it was a great choice of getting to the major leagues. It was a little tougher than I expected. Obviously, I was 17. My roommate was Frank Thomas. He was 35. We didn't have a whole lot of things in common. So it made playing on the road difficult, but, you get accustomed to it, you get experience. And at the end, when I was 34, 35, looking around, I said, I'm the old guy. I think it's time to go.
Well, that's the most amazing thing is that the 62 Mets were built largely around veteran players. The Mets organization wanted some familiar names to sell to the fans. It wasn't really about winning at that point in time. And so you are 17 and you're surrounded by a bunch of guys at the twilight of their careers. How bizarre was that being thrust into that situation?
Well, the only thing that was good about it was there were a lot of stars that came back to New York for the Mets. And I, recognized the names. I knew the players. So I was accustomed to seeing them, watching the Giants, Dodgers, the Yankees. And they were there and alongside of myself, and it made it easy. Casey was easy to play for. He liked the young guys. He liked to work with them. He liked to see them improve, and it made it fun to play for the Met organization, and the fans loved us. There are no better fans in the world than the New York fans, and they really supported the ball club and through the bad times and, of course, the good times.
Were you starstruck by any of those older veterans, future Hall of Famers that were on your team?
Well, I just followed the Yankees basically, but of course, I knew Willie Mays and all those great stars the Giants had and the Dodgers. One of the players from the Dodgers, Gil Hodges, joined our ball club as a player and then became our manager. And he was instrumental in turning the ball club around in 68, 69, and we win a pennant and changed the whole outlook of the Met organization. And we could have won more pennants if Gil stays around and doesn't pass away.
Casey Stengel, as you said, was your first manager, the first manager in Mets history. What was that experience like? He had so many years with those incredible Yankees teams, so many championships. Then he kind of played a bit of a clown prince role as almost a fan character for the Mets. What was that like?
Well, he did that really to take the pressure off the players. He knew we had a bad ball club. We had a lot of players at the twilight of their careers, and he was taking the pressure off them, handled the press and did it well. And he picked the young players that were joining the ball club, and he made it work. And he tried to work with us and try to improve us. And, he gave us the beginning. He took the pressure off the Met players, and, he was great to play for. I enjoyed it. He was always there for the young guys, willing to work with you, stay as long as you want. He was the first one at the ballpark, the last one to leave. So we had a good time with him, and he was always sticking up for the players. If you went out on the field and give your best effort every day for him, he was in your corner, and I'll tell you what, it made it fun.
What was it like to be part of the worst team in baseball history, or one of them? 120 losses and still a modern day record. Was there embarrassment or shame, or you're just 17 years old, so you're just loving life because you're actually playing big league ball?
I was loving life. I'll tell you what, I didn't worry about losing 120 games. I was only there for part of that season. I expected us to win a lot sooner, but little did I know that one man can't lead a ball club. You need a whole team, and it took us 7 years to develop that, and of course we did. We were the first franchise, that was coming new into the league that won a championship. So we did it pretty quickly.
By 68, as you said, you guys are competitive. By 69, you go on the Miracle Mets run and captivate the city, captivate the nation. There are magazines with you guys on the front of it, and the Miracle Mets are now a national sensation. What was it like to go from 120 losses, seeing that thing through, to then becoming national stars and celebrities?
Well, it happened quickly, but we were all the same age. We were having fun together, and we had a good organization. And we developed very quickly. We brought up Seaver and Kuzman and, all those guys around me. Made it fun to play. Winning was great. So losing is tough also. When you're losing every day, that's contagious, and so is winning. But I enjoyed winning a lot more. Like I said, when Gil passed, we took over another manager, Yogi Berra, that had, some luck on his side, and we won in 73. But we should have won after that, and we didn't. And, of course, a lot of things changed. And, 1979 came around pretty quick for myself, and I decided to retire. I had been on the roller coaster too many years, so we got out. But, it's not fun losing. And the Mets, I see them struggling right now. But hopefully they'll rebuild in a hurry and get back into it. And the fans here in New York love winning. And, we'd like to see us in a pennant race.
Gil Hodges is the manager of the 69 team that wins the World Series. He develops health problems and passes away abruptly shortly thereafter. How many more pennants, how many more World Series appearances do you think there would have been for that team if Gil had stayed alive?
Well, I know we would have won in 73. We lost that World Series in 7 games to Oakland, but we never got back into it. After 73, we went straight down, and it wasn't fun. Losing the second time around is not an enjoyable thing to have, especially when you're eliminated at the All-Star break. So it got tired, it got old, and, you have to get out if you're not having fun.
What would Gil have done differently in 73 to where you guys would have beaten the A's instead of lost to them?
Well, that would have been easy. Probably would have pitched George Stone in the sixth game, and we win the pennant. We don't have to wait. Use Seaver up early and lose the sixth game with Seaver on the mound, and then come back in the seventh with John Matlack, who was a good pitcher, but he wasn't Tom Seaver. And of course, we had 9 guys to use on Sunday, but we were eliminated on Saturday, and that really took the heart out of the Mets.
In 69, what's the moment that you go, oh, we got magic this year? This is our season? Because there were so many moments where it's like, wow, that happened. Wow, that happened. Wow, that happened. What was the one for you?
I think when the ball hits the top of the fence against Pittsburgh and comes back into the field, and Cleon relays it in to Buddy, and we get the guy out at the plate. I mean, we saw so many miracles happening, that all positive things on our side. And, we played good defense, good pitching, and we controlled the game. So we won a lot of games the second half of the season. Over 60 games we win. And, it makes it very competitive for us to catch 5 ball clubs, go past them, catch the Cubs. They were up by 10 games, and we wound up beating them by 8, 9 games. So, things really went well for us. But we were a good ball club. We beat the clubs we had to play. And we beat them every series, and we beat the Cubs. They'd come in for 4 games. We'd knock them out 4 games. So that's a lot of games to pick up in a hurry. But it was good. And, Gil taught us the proper way to play the game, pitching and defense, and the club that scores, enough runs, going to win. But we didn't score a whole lot of runs, but we scored enough with our pitching and defense. We didn't give up any, and that's the important thing.
Being part of the 69 Mets is a little bit like being part of the 86 Mets. You live forever. You're a legend forever just by being touched by that experience. And fans nearly 55 years later still adore you guys in 69. How did being part of that team that season change your life?
Well, I think, we won the pennant at the right time. There were a lot of things happening in the world back in 69, with the Vietnam War, all the different things, Woodstock, a lot of crazy things were going on. The country was in uproar, and a lot of things negative. And they gave people something to think about other than everyday life, and watch the Mets. And we drew a lot of fans, and, it really was great. And everyone seems to be there, want to be part of it. So you win the pennant on the right years, and nobody lets you forget it.
What's it been like to have a lifetime of being born a New Yorker and winning an iconic championship in New York, and it clearly being part of your identity for the rest of your life?
Well, you can't walk anywhere. You can't go anywhere in New York, because there's always somebody that, wants to talk about 69. And it was a great time in New York. And it's been tremendous for myself. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed retirement. I've met a lot of nice people. New York's a great town, and especially when you win. That to me is the key to sports. It's great to play, but you want to win a championship and put your name on the city, and we were able to do that.
I think the best part of the entire run was the Ed Sullivan Show, and you guys all going on there and singing "You Got to Have Heart." To me, that's the highlight of the 69 season.
Well, we did a lot of things back in those days. We also went to Vegas for 3 weeks and performed out there. So we were entertainers on and off the field, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And we had such a close group of guys that we all stuck together. And even to this day, we still have a number of players that socialize together. I'm very friendly with Ronnie Sabota and Art Shamsky in New York, and we do things socially together. There's so many guys, that are still around and still together.
What was a couple of days in the late 60s in Vegas with a bunch of 20-something guys from New York that just won a championship? That's got to be a pretty wild road trip.
It was a fun trip there. We were there 3 weeks. We could have stayed another 2 or 3 weeks. They invited us to continue to stay on the road. We were really not entertainers. We're not singers. We're not comedians, and we tried to do it. We did it for a couple of weeks, and we were the second leading drawer out there, and good enough to stay, but not good enough for us. We decided not to stay there, and we left. And we got a taste of it, and we found out we better stick to playing baseball. But we did that for a couple of years, and it's great. It's been great in New York. I still follow the Mets. I still watch the Yankees on occasion, but I'm still a Met fan.
What was the show about? You guys went out there and performed for 3 weeks. What does a bunch of baseball players do as a show?
Well, we had a great film clip out there showing us how we messed up so many times and lost ball games, how we started making great plays and, you know, winning a lot of games at the end. And we had a song, The Impossible Dream, and they had lyrics to it, you know, stretching around baseball. And it became a great show, and the people loved it. So we enjoyed ourselves out there. And I'd probably like to do it again now, but I better think twice.
You were part of a team that won a championship in 69, went back to the World Series in 73. But by the time we get to the mid to late 70s, the wheels had come off the franchise, ownership had changed, and you guys were one of the worst teams in baseball. How difficult was it for you to stomach all of the losing towards the end of your career after all of the winning that you had been part of?
Well, it's not fun to go to the ballpark, and when it's not fun, you can't enjoy yourself, and you might as well get out. I mean, if you can't enjoy yourself playing, that's the time to leave. And it wasn't fun. We had ownership change internally. It wasn't sold. It wasn't sold till after the '79 season, and that's when I knew it was time to go. But you know, it just is not the same. Baseball is there to have fun, win some games, enjoy yourself, love New York, and go about your business. But, you know, it's tough. And right now, I'm sure the ball club is struggling, and, you know, they're looking forward to rebuilding in a hurry. New York is a tough town when you do lose. But the Mets are trying, and they keep trying to put things together, different players, and they'll come up with an answer. They've got a good owner. A good ownership over there. Mr. Cohn is trying his best. He's putting his money where his mouth is, and you know, he's spending his money, and just the players are not producing right now. So he's got to do something, and that's what they're trying.
When Tom Seaver is traded, it is kind of seen as the darkest moment in franchise history. It is certainly the end spiritually of the 69 and 73 teams, and it really plunges the team into darkness for a while. What was it like to be a teammate and to watch the franchise be traded away?
Well, you just looked around and you saw all these players being moved, and you knew you could be part of that. And that was something I didn't want to happen. I love New York. I wanted to stay here, but things were moving around. And when you trade the franchise on the team, you know, you either get great players for them or you don't. I think the Mets made a bad trade with that. Tom Seaver, they picked up 4 players that Cincinnati wanted to give us, and that's not the way to trade Tom Seaver. So you knew things could happen. So it wasn't fun to be around there to see all your friends that you grew up with started being dismantled, and the road trips were not fun anymore.
Did that suck the heart out of the team when they traded away Seaver?
I think what sucked the heart out of the Mets was us losing, you know, the 6th game of the series against Oakland. We should have won that. We're up 3-2 going to Oakland with 2 games to play, and our 2 best pitchers lined up to pitch, and we lose. You know, it took a lot out of us, and we never were the same. We never came back. We never really tried to win a pennant. We were trying, but the results were not there. But you know, the '86 team came around and they won, and the Met organization rebuilt itself. And, you know, now you just have to root for them as a fan.
It's different to win in New York. I mean, that's why we do this show, New York Accent. It's just different to win in New York. What is the energy like around a victory? You guys did Canyon of Heroes, parade down Broadway. What is that experience like to do it in New York?
Well, there's no better experience because the people will be out there. They'll support you for anything. They'll come any place, anywhere. They'll show up. They'll have fun. They'll enjoy themselves. And, you know, it's great to be around because they don't let you forget. They want to talk about it. They're very vocal, the people in New York. and they're willing to come out and support you. And it's a lot of fun. 50 years after the fact, you win a pennant in '69. They're still talking about it as if it happened last week. The older guys are telling the young guys exactly what happened. So, it's always fun to walk around in New York. That's why I came back from Florida. Wanted to be in New York, see my friends, talk about the good old days, and go on from there.
One of the most amazing stories about your life is you needed a kidney transplant, and that was made possible by a Mets fan donor. How did that connection come about?
Well, we couldn't get one, and it looked like time was running out. We were getting down to the point where I needed dialysis, and we had to do something. So the Mets got behind me and helped me. They gave me a tremendous amount of publicity. Mr. Wilpont and the family, who controlled the ball club, really reached out, and we had the miracle. Somebody came out, and it was a perfect match for myself, and it worked out well, and we got involved in that. And the second miracle was my wife came down, and she got sick, and we had a miracle with her. She beat prostate cancer, which was tremendous, and we look forward to having a lot of good days together. So I've had two miracles in the last 2 years, so I didn't think we'd have another one. So I wrote a book and told about the good times with the Mets and just life going on.
Life is good for Ed Kranepool?
Well, it certainly is. After two miracles, we both survived, and we're both here, and we're having a good time together.
The book is The Last Miracle, as the 18-year journey of Ed Kranepool throughout the Amazin New York Mets organization. He has written a brand new book. It is available right now, including on Kindle and hardcover at Amazon.com. He is the all-time leader in games played for the New York Mets. He's third all-time in hits for the New York Mets and played 18 seasons with the franchise, the only franchise he ever played with. Ed, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck with the book.
Okay, I look forward to the fans reading it and enjoying it as much as I had writing it. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Ed.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy New York Accent, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more episodes like this one. Also, if you want to watch more episodes of New York Accent, check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you for the next episode of New York Accent.